Sergeant Karras was not a man easily rattled. He had walked through the burning hells of the Ghoul Stars and emerged with his sanity intact. Yet here, in the light-starred depths of Viridia Secundus, his armor felt thin and his pulse rifle seemed nothing more than a toy. He was the last of his squad, the final piece of biomass left to be harvested in this rusted tomb of a world. He knew he wasn't hunting a mere beast anymore. He was being meticulously herded towards his own extinction. The Umbral Scythe, the Chronos Shade. To the High Command on Viridia Secundus, it was just a statistical anomaly, a string of disconnected disappearances. But to Karras, it was a walking nightmare. He had seen the evidence in the ruins themselves. Karras had found this sector hours before the silence fell. It wasn't just a battle site, it was a transmutation. The floor had been rusted, calcified, and mutated into a jagged skeletal geometry. The very terrain seemed to reject the presence of the hive mind, yet it had no choice but to bend and surrender its physical laws to the monster that stalked it. The Umbral Scythe didn't leave bodies. It left hollowed-out husks, drained of life, as if the creature consumed the soul alongside the biomass. Every step he took through the pipes felt like walking into a predator's maw. He wasn't tracking an animal, he was tracking an extinction-level event. The silence in the sublevels was no longer a state of being. It was a physical weight, thick with the scent of ozone and cooling plasma. Karras crouched behind the rusted bulkheads of the Manufactorum, his lungs burning with the acidic tang of the planet. His Astartes Auspex was dead, not just broken, but consumed. Its internal circuits dissolved by the same hyperdecay that had turned the walls into orange dust. It was a jagged, discordant sound, like a serrated blade scraping across dry bone. Karras pivoted, his pulse rifle roaring into the gloom, but there was nothing there. Only the swaying shadows of the hanging pipes and the pulsating, tyrannid-tainted sludge digesting the floor beneath his boots. "Where are you?" he hissed, his voice swallowed by the rust-eaten expanse. A blur of abyssal black shifted overhead. The Umbral Scythe descended, a predator that drank the light, its melanic carapace pulling every lumen into its void. It moved with an impossible liquid grace, landing soundlessly on the deck. Karras leveled his rifle, but the creature's movement was erratic, a glitch in the geometry of the room, as if reality itself struggled to keep the monster in focus. Karras unleashed a burst of fire. The air turned into a storm of sparks and shrapnel. A lucky shot caused a sudden, brutal impact against the bulkhead. The Umbral Scythe lurched. Karras surged forward, his survival knife driving with the desperate, calculated strength of a man fighting for the future of his soul. The edge connected perfectly, seeking the gap between the chitin plates. But there was no spray of ichor. There was no sound of rending flesh. Instead, the blade sparked against an invisible, shimmering barrier that flared into existence at the point of impact. The force of the strike, which should have buried the steel beneath the creature's hide, was simply negated. A shockwave of cold, sterile white energy rippled outward from the contact point, vibrating through the hilt of his blade and up his arm, numbing his hand to the bone. Karras gasped, his momentum checked, his eyes widening in horror. The Umbral Scythe didn't recoil. It didn't even bleed. It simply froze. The air around it rippling like a heat haze over a desert floor as its internal energy field surged to repel the attack. In the impressive dimness, the sergeant saw the terrifying truth. He hadn't just failed to wound the beast, he had struck the very veil of its existence. The camouflage field, stressed by the contact, pulsed violently, revealing a complex shifting grid of biological energy beneath the skin. The Umbral Scythe emerged, not simply as a beast, but as an entity that existed only partially in the physical world, and entirely in the realm of his own demise. The silence of Radius Secundus was finally, irrevocably broken.